This was a moment when the 29-year-old Luton Town captain Tom Lockyer suffered a cardiac arrest on the pitch during a Premier League match against Bournemouth last December. Tom was technically dead for 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
But thanks to the medical team's swift action, he was resuscitated. He's got a newly fitted defibrillator that will give him a shock if his heart rate goes outside the normal parameters. I am absolutely delighted to say that you're here this morning with us. I mean, I'm sure no one's more delighted than you are, Tom. It's absolutely brilliant to see you.
No, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's all our pleasure. And just tell us, this was the 16th of December last year. Luton Town, newly promoted to the Premier League. You're playing against Bournemouth, big rivals, and suddenly you experience this cardiac arrest. Now, I wonder whether you have any actual memory of what happened at all, or where your memories start and begin?
Yeah, so Bournemouth had just scored and it had been with VAR for a couple of minutes, so I wasn't really exerting myself or anything. I was just walking up to the halfway line, and then the game kicked off again. So I jogged up probably about 10 yards, and I remember feeling incredibly lightheaded. And I remember thinking, oh, I'll be fine in a second. And that was the last thing I remember, apart from them waking up on the floor. And yeah, I wasn't able to move. I couldn't speak. And I was just trying to make sense of where I was. And eventually it felt like an eternity, but I was finally able to speak and move. But I remember in that moment when I couldn't, I remember lying on the floor, seeing all the medical staff panicking and thinking, oh, I could be dying here, which is obviously not a very nice thought to have.
Very distressing, obviously. A really horrible, horrible experience. Your girlfriend, pregnant, watching you in the stands. Your dad watching you in the stands. Meanwhile, at home, your mum's listening on the radio, but your brother's turned the radio off. Your mum says, why have you turned the radio off? Everybody was petrified.
Yeah, and I almost feel worse for them than I do for myself, because I was just living it. Like I said, I was lightheaded, I woke up, and when I woke up, I felt fine. So, you know, I know obviously a crazy thing has happened, and I'm incredibly fortunate. I'm so lucky that it happened where it happened, where there was trained medical people who knew CPR on hand for me. And yeah, for them watching and the unknown and being unable to help in any way. Obviously, my mum at home, that's, you know, she's annoyed. Bournemouth have scored. She goes, makes a cup of tea, comes back in, and my brother has to say, well, she's gone, why is the radio off? And my brother has to say, oh, Tom's gone down off the ball. And I can only imagine her panic. Obviously, you mentioned my dad and my girlfriend who were at the game. For them, apparently, for some reason, they both weren't watching the ball. They were watching me at the time, because the ball was miles away up the other end, and they watched me just collapse off the ball, and they said they knew instantly that it was serious.
Something had happened like this before, hadn't it?
Yeah, so back in
May... So in their minds, would they immediately be thinking, it's happening again? In your mind, when you came round, did you think, it's happened again?
Yeah, so it happened back in May in the playoff final, but it was something different. Back then it was AF, which is the top part of the heart, which is not life-threatening.
Atrial fibrillation.
Yes. And back then at Wembley, because it was obviously the first time, no one really knew what was going on. So it was, oh, is it his ankle? Is it his knee? Is it the heat? All these things. But this time everyone knew that this is serious. And the manager, Rob Edwards, he came on within 5 seconds, and, you know, that's unheard of. So everyone kind of knew that this was serious this time.
For your dad and for your girlfriend in the stand, that almost makes it worse, because they know how serious it was the last time as well?
Yeah, there was no doubt this time, and I kind of knew as well, which is why when I started coming round and I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, and it was the staff there on site were a lot more in like go mode, I would say. They were like focused, and it was very serious, and then that's when I was like, wow, like I could be dying, which is obviously when you're laying there and you can't speak, you can't move, it's not a nice feeling to have. But yeah, then when I could move and speak, I felt fine, which is the mad thing. I wasn't sore, I wasn't in any sort of pain.
Your heart got back into rhythm.
It got back into rhythm, all thanks to the incredible medical staff. And I touched on it earlier. I'm so lucky it happened where it did, because 1 in 10, if it was to happen outside of hospital and a football pitch, the survival rate is only 1 in 10, which is crazy statistics.
We all think a defibrillator is something you know, that you might see on the wall in a supermarket or in a shopping centre or in a workplace. There's talk about whether you should have them more widely. And you get trained. I've done the training where you go to find it and to use it. But you're in a really unusual... I had no idea that you could do this. You have your own personal 24 hours a day, 365 days a year defibrillator with you all the time now.
Yeah, so, yeah, I call it my new little superpower, really, because after something like this happens and you make a recovery, you have it in there just in case.
When you say in there, in your pocket, in your handbag?
In my side here.
It's actually inside your body?
Yeah, it just sits in the side here.
How big is it? Is it like the size of a matchbox or bigger than
Yeah,
that?
I'll show you. It's, so...
There it is. There's the scar.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It just sits in there. It was when I had a little bit
must
more
be tiny.
padding.
I mean,
you could
look
see
at
it, but...
The normal ones are huge, but you've got like a Barnet one.
Yeah, so I think that battery lasts for about 8 years. Oh. So,
Is it a tender there? Because it protrudes quite a bit, doesn't it?
No. To start with, it was very sore. And
yes.
I still can't sleep on my left side, but I never slept on my left side anyway. But it doesn't really affect my golf swing. I'm still rubbish at that. So, yeah, it's not too intrusive.
And it's a lifesaver. But as you say, thank goodness for the medical team. You know, football medical teams are there for a reason, not just to look at injuries, literally to save your life on the pitch. But there is one technique, not the defibrillator or anything else, the one technique, as you mentioned, CPR. And we all think, what would I do if I was the only person around who could step in and save someone's life? And you genuinely can, can't you? What would you say to people who haven't learned CPR or have but are afraid that they might get it wrong?
Well, I would just say, just picture yourself, it was one of your family members, has a cardiac arrest, and you don't know what to do. How would you feel? Obviously, it would happen, you'd be panicked anyway, but 15 minutes is all it takes. You can log on to the British Heart Foundation website. There's a tool on there called Reviver, and it's 15 minutes. You can do that when you're next commuting, having a coffee. 15 minutes, you can practice with a pillow, literally just a pillow like this. You can, and it records you, and it shows you how hard to press.
And it's pretty hard,
yes,
isn't it?
It's harder than you'd think.
Yeah, you have to be pretty bold with it.
Yes, and that's, a lot of people aren't. They're a little bit timid, so that is a perfect tool to find out how hard to press, and it literally does save lives.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You have a new life coming into your world. Your girlfriend, who is here with you this morning, is a week away from due date for your baby girl, isn't she?
So exciting.
Yeah, I'm lucky I'm allowed here, really. It's only because she wanted to see you two I'm allowed to come.
Oh, well, we're so excited about seeing her as well.
Yes, but it's like what I said, the life-saving skills that the professionals had that day saved my life, and it allows me to be here for the birth of my daughter.
Yvette had a rule. She said, from the moment each child is born, for the first 28 days, she said, I'm changing no nappies. You've got to do all of them. I'm not sure if you've been told that yet.
I've not been told that, no.
She'd pass it on. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
Tom, would you like to carry on playing?
It's a difficult one. It's too early to say at the minute. I think ultimately we'll be dictated to by medical advice.
Yeah,
of course.
If there's a chance, I would like to, but that would have to be in complete safe circumstances. And like I said, it's way too early to decide that right now. So the focus for myself is just the baby and my girlfriend at the minute, and then we'll take it day by day from there.
And you're the team captain.
Yes.
Can they do it?
Yes.
They can.
Yes, without a doubt, yeah.
It's so hard
When
now.
you say do it, you mean stay up.
It's so hard. I mean, I'm a Norwich fan. We've been up and down. It's so hard to go from the Championship now and stay there, even compared to 5 years ago. But, I mean, everybody would love Luton to do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're a neutral, you back Luton, don't you?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not. Susanna, who are you?
Crystal Palace?
Oh, rival.
Oh, God. I used to like you as well.
They've rolled the dice. They've rolled the dice. I'm going to ask you one other question, because I know
Let's not lose any love over it, Tom. I think we can put football rivalries aside on the sofa this morning. I can, apparently, not Tom.
Can I ask one other question? Your defibrillator, do you have to test it? Does it just sit there, or do you have to kind of, you know...
So,
how do you know it's OK?
So you get a little, like a iPad almost, that plugs into the wall, and every night you just click the button on that and it syncs up to your defib, and then it reports back to the hospital and basically shows that basically your heartbeat throughout the whole day.
Yeah.
And if there was any sort of irregularities, and anything like that, and that the device is still working.
Amazing. As a professional footballer, you're used to that kind of health monitoring, and now they're doing it to your heart all the time. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just before we let you go, I know a huge part of your recovery was your Lego. It is a hobby that you share with David Beckham. You've completed, like he has, the Hogwarts castle. But there's another one you want to get started on, isn't there, Tom?
Well, I am doing the Disney castle at the minute.
Right.
So that's another 5,000 piece.
Right.
And then once that's done, I said I would like to do the Titanic, but with the baby coming on, I don't think I'd have the time.
Of course you should do it. The baby sleeps sometimes. When the baby's asleep, get in a bit.
Oh, Tom, do you know what? If you can just set my Crystal Palace allegiance aside, it has been amazing to meet you. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans? I know that they just adore you, of course.
Just thank you. Thank you for the way you've been to me and my family. And please, honestly, if you don't know CPR, please learn it. 15 minutes is all it takes. And in the time of one match, 90 minutes, 5 people in the UK have a cardiac arrest. So it really can happen to anyone. So please, please, please learn CPR.
Tom, lovely to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And good luck next week when the baby comes.
Thank you.
If it's next, it might be today.
You never know.